After my last Raptor army video, where I kitbashed this Eradicator squad, I asked you what I should do with those 180 points that I had left over in my 2000 point army list. I mentioned that this was exactly the points cost of both Kayvaan Shrike and Ethan Shan, and many of you said that this is what I should add next. So in this video, let's tackle the former of these Raven God Chapter Masters and build a Raptorized Kayvaan Shrike. Naturally, I began with a Kayvaan Shrike kit. While I would be making quite a few changes to the model, I felt it was important to keep the basic size, shape and composition of the model the same. This will just make it easier for anyone I play against to recognize the model as Kayvaan Shrike and also keep that through line of Shrike's aesthetics. After clipping away the parts required to build the torso and legs, my first step was the same as every other Raptor kit bash that I've made: the removal of any superfluous ornamentation. On this model, this came in the form of the crow-headed Imperialis on the chest and also the small skulls around the feet. All of these details were removed with my knife, first shaving away larger chunks before using a scraping motion and some fine grit sandpaper to achieve the smooth, featureless surface. With these removed, the torso could be glued together. As you can see, this torso piece also came with the shoulders attached to them, but as I planned on using different arms, these would have to go. So, using my clippers, I removed the bulk of the arm. I followed the line of the torso and used my knife to help flatten out any remaining pieces. Whilst I was already removing pieces, I also decided to remove the Kayvaan Shrike holster. Normally, he'd be holding a pistol in his hand, so his holster would be empty. I didn't plan on having the pistol drawn, so an empty holster would make less sense. I carefully cut away the holster but kept the square plug intact. When I came to attach the pouches, the plug would be required to fill in the gap in the torso. After removing the left shoulder, I was left with a large gap in the side of Kayvaan's torso, which was the perfect opportunity to try out some of this AK modeling putty that I recently picked up. It's similar to my Sprue Goo concoction, but a little thicker with a slightly coarser texture, but this just allowed me to quite easily block out that gap. I didn't worry too much about being too neat at this stage, I just focused on building back the surface. While I waited for the putty to fully cure, I assembled Kayvaan's jump pack as per the instructions. Once the putty had hardened, I used some more fine grit sandpaper to reform the flat surface of a normal Space Marine shoulder joint. If you're a long-time viewer of my channel, then you'll know that I love all things military history, and there are a few games that are as dedicated to bringing that history to life on the seas as World of Warships, the sponsors of this video. World of Warships truly feels like a virtual museum of naval history. You can take command of over 850 historically accurate vessels spanning 13 different nations across 5 distinct classes. These range from the massive battleships and aircraft carriers to the nimble destroyers, and you can even dive beneath the waves with the stealthy submarine. The gameplay is a perfect blend of realism and tactical team-based action, which lets you feel like a captain bringing to life some of history's most pivotal moments in special single-player commemorative events. And this December, World of Warships is kicking off its biggest and coziest event of the year, the Christmas campaign. All you need to do is to log in, enjoy the festive Nordlichevin port, and warm up with a community of like-minded players. And if you log in this month, you can claim a free Tier 9 ship complete with permanent camouflages and Santa's gift containers. Plus, you can collect daily rewards just by opening the in-game advent calendar. They are also bringing back fan-favorite content like asymmetric battles and introducing the beautiful new map, Sunset Isles. If you're a new captain or a veteran returning to the PC game, now is the time to sign up. Use my link and the invite code IMPACTFORCE when you register for a massive welcome package of 20 days of premium account access, a port slot, the Japanese Tier 3 cruiser, and an exclusive 6 skill point commander. You also get a series of additional rewards, including the formidable US Tier 7 cruiser, 40 million credits, and 7 super containers. It's everything you need for a smooth start or to get back to the seas. And if you're a console player, you can also enjoy the holiday season in World of Warships Legends. Click the link in the description and pinned comment to play World of Warships today for free. As I mentioned earlier, I planned on using different arms from those found in the kit, and the reason for this was that I decided to not use the original Raven's talons. These just didn't feel like they matched the more utilitarian aesthetic that I tried to give my Raptors. So, to create something that still matched the rules and name of the Raven's talons, I decided to give my version of Shrike a pair of matched combat knives. One of these blades was found in the Deathwatch Kill Team box. This arm was perfect as it was not only Phobos style armor, but the wrist computer also matched the tactical vibe of the Raptors. The arm was then paired with this arm from the Reaver's kit, which held a knife in a reverse grip. After attaching the arms, I did a quick dry fit against the tactical rock to ensure that all the arms positions still matched the body's pose. With the arms in place, I felt more comfortable attaching the left side of the chest pouches. This piece did need a little adjustment though. After clipping away the feathers and amulet, the belt and pouches were glued to the torso. From here, I could then attach a Phobos shoulder pad, also taken from the Reaver kit, along with the embossed Raptor shoulder pad that I'd found in the Deathwatch Kill Team set. In order to hold the paired combat knives when not in use, my Kayvaan would need a scabbard or two. My first thought was to use the paired incursor scabbards, but these were much too small, so I made my own version. This started out as two Reaver scabbards. The pouches were clipped and trimmed from both, and these were attached to the left thigh. As I was already working on the stowage, my next task was to remove Kayvaan's helmet from the pouches. I didn't really want the helmet, but the pouches were a necessary include, as they included sections of the belt. After removing the helmet and trinkets, this group of pouches were attached along with a smaller bonus pouch that I'd sourced from those earlier Reaver scabbards to fill in that gap. A generic pistol holster was glued to the right hip before I added the head. I was quite tempted to use Kayvaan's original head in this build, but I figured that a Black Parade haircut wouldn't be tolerated by the Raptor's resident barber, aka Captain Buzzcut. So I selected this suitably grizzled looking head, which was left over from my previous Gravis Captain build. At this stage, I had my wall, torso and backpack complete, but there was still a few more little extras to add. The first of these would see me use some Tamiya epoxy putty, quick type. It's the first time I've used this yellow stuff, but I've heard good things about it. It also comes in these separate packets, which means I didn't need to cut away that middle section like I always have to do with green stuff. After removing equal amounts of both colours, I left the putty to partly cure for about 30 to 40 minutes. This firmed up the putty just enough to make it still possible to work with, but not too soft to make rigid shapes nearly impossible. I took a small ball, rolled it out into a thin cylinder, and pressed this onto the thigh between the scabbard and the small armor bump on each side of the leg. I then used my sculpting tools to carefully flatten, straighten and sharpen up the edges to create a flat leather strap, much like the one found on the opposite leg. You're looking for consistency here, both in the width and thickness of the strap. During this whole process, I used a little Vaseline on my tools to prevent the putty from sticking to them, and once I was happy with how the strap was looking, I allowed it to cure overnight. With the strap in place, I just had a few final details to add. The first of these were an ammo strap taken from the Beast Snagger Boys kit. I trimmed this down a little before supergluing it to the strap on the left thigh. This was followed up with a small pouch from the Eradicator's kit, which I glued to the left shoulder, and with that, Kayvaan Shrike was complete. Which meant that I could turn my attention to the base. Here I kept things quite simple, as the large tactical bunker offered plenty of detail in of itself. I did, however, decide to add a little torn up cork and a few Citadel skulls for just a sprinkling of added flavour. With that, the parts were mounted on some temporary bases and wire, and I made a start on the painting, which I tackled in the exact same way that I painted all of my other Raptors. So, as is always the case with these Raptor videos, I'd recommend checking out my Jump Pack Intercessors tutorial where I broke down how I paint, decal and base all of my Raptors. I'll add a link to the top corner of this video. However, there's one small part of the painting that I will show you. Following my last video, a lot of people asked how I painted this guy's shaved head, so I thought I'd cover the process in this video. I did cover this in the Jump Intercessor video, but I've since refined the technique, so here it goes. First, you'll need to completely finish painting your skin before breaking out a bluish grey paint like this Cold Corpse Blue from the Tooth and Coat range. Add it to your palette and then mix in some medium. I'm using Vallejo Glaze Medium here, but Lamium Medium from Games Workshop or any equivalent product will work. I created a roughly 1 part paint to 2 parts glaze medium mix and then loaded up my brush with just a small amount of paint. This mixture was then painted onto where you can see that it practically does nothing. The trick here is to steadily build up these incredibly thin layers until you're starting to get that greyish tone beginning to form. How far you push this effect is entirely up to you. Keep it light and you have a stubble effect, or build up a few more layers to achieve that buzz cut effect. And with that, my mini was complete, which left me with this. And so that concludes yet another addition to my Raptors army, Kayvaan Shrike. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, my goal was to create a model that fit the theme of my Raptors but was still recognizable as being Shrike by my opponent, and I think I've achieved that. The base and the backpack are doing most of the heavy lifting here as they remain unchanged, but even though I completely changed the arms, the combat blades still fit that twin-linked precision close combat weapon that his datasheet has. Now, at the end of my last Eradicators video, I did promise more Raptor videos, and I'm trying to keep that promise of having a playable force before the next edition. But there are still a few good units left to go. This of course includes Athan Sean now, who I will get around to eventually. But I think I might add some aggressors or heavy intercessors next. So keep an eye out for them. But once they're done, I may well come back to these chapter-specific characters and units and see how well they can be Raptified. Maybe a Raptor-flavoured Victrix Guard or a Sabodan Khan. You can find all the kits and paints used in this video down in the description below, along with some affiliate links. I've also recently partnered with taschengelddieb.de, so if you're in Germany or any other EU country and you're looking for some discounted Warhammer, be sure to check them out and use my code PETESQUAD for an extra 4% off at checkout. You can also pick up my Dead Animal Bits and Sorcerer's Spoils kits over on my web store, thesparepartsemporium.com. Anything you buy from there is packaged up and shipped by me, and all the sales go directly to supporting me and the channel. And once again, a big thank you to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. And remember, if you're a new captain or a veteran returning to the PC game, you can use my link and the invite code IMPACTFORCE for a massive welcome package of 20 days of premium account access, a port slot, the Japanese Tier 3 cruiser, and an exclusive 6 skill point commander. You'll also get a series of additional rewards, including the formidable US Tier 7 cruiser, 40 million credits, and 7 super containers. Just click the link in the description and the pinned comment to play World of Warships for free today. But before I go, let me just say a huge thank you to everyone who continues to help keep the channel going. And if you'd like to support me too, you can get early access to ad-free videos, exclusive merchandise, and even your name in the credits. Simply follow my Patreon link below or hit the join button. Just like my top Patreon supporters did, who are Andrew Marston, Banyevrian, Berserker, Dakota Gaburi, Daniel Dowling, Ferdinand Richardson, George Kanzini Roberts, Nightwolf, Little Templar, Maciej Savitsky, Matt's Mini Minute, Sam Sepulveda, Son of Sevatar, Swedsman, Tim, and Zeth27. And my top channel members, who are Alex Verne, Andrew Chell, Bon Johnson, Chris Toomey, Dante, Dave, Doug H, Guy Bezant, John Gibbs, Kaiser Waffle 11, Mark Taylor, Misa Pogon, Nerdington Paints, Patrick K, Philip Oya, Rhino Shaughnessy, SO, SJ Carper, Stobox, The Sire Acquired, and Whale Tussler. So until next time, thanks for watching, and goodbye.